Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem. I don't know where you are in your fast today. Maybe you're starting your fast, maybe you're finishing your fast. I think the thing today is really just being able to zero on the fact that we're in an active process, that we're trying to do some type of spiritual alignment, recentering ourselves, whether it's in our spiritual life, our family life, business life, relationships. You just never know. Man, the biggest relationship is, of course, the one with yourself and the one you have with your maker. But I thought today would be interesting as we move forward. Yesterday we talked a little bit about how we do the community building, and today Juice Four really ties into some of that aspect of not just community building, but how we have established ourselves in the context of saving our community, uh, protecting our community, protecting our loved ones. Today's topic will be the role of faith in uplifting women, and I think this is a very, very important, extremely important thought process that we're about to go through and talk about. Starting, of course, in Sir Imran and moving into Sir Nisa. And Sir Nisa, a woman. What I want to make sure I touch on today is that there's a categorical argument for why women need to, one, be protected, number two, be upheld, and number three, be integrated in everything that we do. Let me say again, number one, be protected. Number two, be uplifted. Number three, integrated into everything that we do. A large part of that has to do with the fact that there's a nature, if you will. And I don't want to say a female nature, but there's a female characteristic that is something that I would say is connected to creation. There is a viability that none of us can overlook. You can be the biggest man in the world and be a mama's boy. And if somebody says you're a mama's boy, it is not a derogatory term. It means that you have deep affinity for your mother. But not just the deep affinity for your mother, you have a deep affinity for the whole aspect of motherhood, where you look and understand the process of life has been given. Life has been expended and shared, brothers and sisters. So I want to make sure that this is really, really what we're talking about today. In fact, a shout out to Brother Bilal and Sister Sonia Salahuddin, their grandparents. They just had their first grandson after having, I think it's eight granddaughters, granddaughters. So you got a lot of life on that side. But my point, Buzz, is as we look in the Quran and we tie some things together. Like I'm going to show you a clip of Stevie Wonder actually talking about Ukraine. Now, this is from March. This is not from April, but this is like from March. And he intuitively begins to talk about this process of just having a metaphysical awareness of where we are in the world, whereby when the world is not connected, the rhythm is off. It's not off here, it's off everywhere. Now, we always say that the treatment of women, the condition of our women, it really tells you how society is going. Well, in Ukraine, the treatment of women is horrible. In the United States, the treatment of women is horrible. In so many other places around the world, the treatment of women is horrible. You know, what we benefit from is that the fact that women have the superior intelligence to disconnect from things that will harm them, to disconnect from policies, to disconnect from philosophies that are instinctively anti growth and anti woman. So I want to talk about the role of faith because sometimes, and we don't like to admit it, sometimes the failure of faith shares the fact that women have to have more faith, that they have to have protection in that faith, making sure that not just harm comes to them, but bad ideas come to them. That the occurrences of people who are not connected to this metaphysical existence that I talked about at the beginning, it doesn't somehow compromise them moving forward. So today on the Shout Out Show, I want to back up and again, I want to talk about this particular aspect, the role of faith in uplifting women. And I think, first of all, we have to talk conceptually about what uplifting means. It's not like, hey, do you feel better? No, it's a process. It's a process. And that process involves you being vulnerable. And it's also not about men uplifting women, it's also about women uplifting women. Think about that. So, listen, you are here on the Shout Out Show. Of course, it's the Ramadan 30 for 30 shout out. Of course, to Islamic Relief USA sponsoring us this month. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Naeem, David Howard, and my main man Sharif Ali. Brothers and sisters, you're on the Shout Out Show, day 4. We're rolling along. Let's hit it.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Muslim Family Services at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time. But leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear, support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see. Compassion you could feel. Sing it with me. Ooh. Ooh. Shout out to Olive Branch Muslim Family Services in the city of Houston doing wonderful things, especially working, of course, with our Afghan refugees. I don't know if we're going to be getting Ukraine refugees, but the Afghan refugees, they have done stellar work, and as well working with the youth in the Houston area. Shout out to them. Sister Fatima, Sister... we got a bunch of sisters, Sister Khadijah, brother Mustafa, Tamid. We got everybody over there doing great things. So let me get to this because I feel like the time is going to run, and I believe we might even have some comments on this. So let me welcome everybody to the show. I believe Sister Ree is back from Michigan. I may be incorrect, but I'm going to shout her out anyway. Shout out to Sister Ree talking about congratulations. To the beautiful additions, that would be to you, Brother Bilal and Sister Sonia. Grandchildren are a blessing. I don't have any, but I'm saying grandchildren are a blessing. So, Sister Reed, we hope you got back safely or you're on the way back and tomorrow. So, as long as you can get back safely, thanks you. Let us know. Let us know. Shout out, of course, to Brother Derek and the young soldier, Jawan, putting in that work. So, next up, we got Brother Altaf Rashid, main man, my main man, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Appreciate you tuning in on the show. Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ramadan Mubarak, brother. Thank you so much. What's the shout out show without his Canadian ambassador? Thank you so much. All right, next up, Bilal Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You and Sister Sonia, you are the stars of the hour. I hope that you're going to be nice enough and send the shout out show a picture of the baby. We just flash it. You know, we don't want to be conspicuous. We don't want to throw your baby out there. So we put a little mustache on or a thing like that. You know, protect baby's identity. We'll do that for you. But send us a picture, man. Love to see it, brother. Love to see it. Again, congratulations to you and Sister Sonia. That is awesome. Next up, Brother Adam Khan in the house. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Kareem. My brother also all the way from Ontario, Canada, man. Good to see you in the house. Make sure that you give our greetings to your family and everyone in Toronto, not Toronto, but outside of Toronto, everybody in the island too, man. So tell them that SOS has some love for them. All right. Good to see you in the house, man. My brother, I hope you are doing well. May Allah continue to bless you. Next up, Brother Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. How you doing, man? This is like day 4 of the fast, day 3. It doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4. We are getting into the space of it. And I was just remarking to somebody, I said, it's interesting because I started looking at the calendar and I said, this Ramadan has the potential to go extremely quickly. Because as we get to Saturday, you're dealing with the first week just knocked out, the 8th, 9th, just knocked out, man. So make sure that you make the most of your Ramadan. If you can get the Taraweeh prayers, do that. But make sure that you have du'as in the pipeline. Wherever you're getting up, make sure you got du'as in the pipeline. Brother Eric, always a pleasure to see you on the platform. JT, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But I don't know, are you fasting now? I'm gonna give you the Ramadan Mubarak anyway, but inshallah you fasting, man. Call your brother. You know how we get together and pontificate on a few things. Peace and blessings to you and the family as always. Much love. Thank you for your support of the SOS. And next up, oh, Sister Reese said, I'm on my way to the airport. Okay, Sister Reese, you getting in late, huh? All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for letting us know. And of course, we have Sister Satana Consulting, producer on the show. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Ramadan Mubarak to Sister Satana. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on the show. Talking about the role of faith in uplifting women, I've watched several videos, interviews over the years of Stevie Wonder. And what I've noticed about Stevie Wonder is he has a gentleness to him that frames that the idea of woman pushing personhood is extremely important. He talks about his daughter, he talks about his son, even when he talks about his ex-wives, his wife, he is very clear that in his mind, the earth is a woman. The earth is a woman. That we take a particular type of nurturing um, from this concept. And what I mean by taking a particular kind of type of nurturing from this concept, he makes it very, very apparent and he's very repetitive on life in the aspect of nurturing has to be protected. It has to be protected. And in the terms of a visual sense to him, he says he can't see, but he knows when the biorhythms of the world are off. And he speaks to the absence of love. Like I don't watch a ton of the coverage of Ukraine, but when I watch it, the first thing I say is, how are the women? How are the babies? You know, war is essentially an aggression, but it's an aggression of no compromise. It's an aggression of, in some regards, um, showmanship, if you will. You know, it's extremely hard um, to explain life, life as a male, and listen to a mother talk about it, or talk about the potential to produce life. Because the potential to produce life is to understand not that it can just be produced, it can be reproduced, but in that space, it has to be protected. So when we started talking about Juice 3 yesterday, we got into talking about Miriam, and the whole idea of Jesus coming about. It is that her life is so sacred that she's going to deliver a prophet that is so sacred that no man can touch her. My good friend Dr. Umar Abdullah said that the word Miriam in Arabic and in the trans literally means better than two men. In that space, brothers and sisters, is something that we really, really need to take hold of. I believe, not going to be totally wrong, but I believe that improving the quality of womanhood, I'm talking about options, opportunity, integration, it effectively produces a different type of temperament in its citizenship. The citizenry has to change. So I'm going to play this video with the help of Sister Satana. And this is just Stevie Wonder talking about Ukraine. I thought it was stunning because, you know, he doesn't necessarily claim any religion. He claims God, absolutely. But this perceptiveness was shocking. And I loved it. I've watched it about 4 or 5 times. I just happened to see it. So I just want you to watch it. Don't think too hard. Just let it sink in. All right, Satana, whenever you're ready.
Can we survive if Ukraine does not? That is a question that all of us should ask. Are we surprised that the forces of evil are alive and aggressive in today's world? I'm not surprised, and you shouldn't be either. I write and sing about it because I can feel it. You should know about it because you can see. Unless you have a blind eye to it and don't want to do anything about it, you can see it. Those of us who know hate recognize the commonality of inhumanity. It is good versus evil, right versus wrong, tyranny over liberty. This is not just a Ukrainian war. Today, Ukraine is in the battle for the soul of the world. As we speak, the fighting forces of evil. We have seen what evil has and can do. Doesn't matter what country or color. Now, evil threatens the sovereignty of one country and the sanctity of all others. What additional tragedies will it take for us to stop this aggression? Hate has no color, has no loyalty, greed has no commitment but to itself. Only you, the people, can prevent World War III. We must stand up to hate and kill hate before it kills us. I believe in the power of the people, all the people. We can stop this right now.
I don't know how many of you actually listen to Stevie Wonder music. I saw him on the Apple TV Plus interview with Oprah. And the song he was playing was Love's in Need of Love Today. And that interview that you just that little clip is the revisiting of this concept that love's in need of love today. So let's talk about the role of faith with uplifting women. You know, men, and that will be me, often believe that women want equality. That somehow a faith tradition affords them, or should spiritually afford them, some kind of equality. You know, and it's a very, very basic thought, because you're not necessarily tying into the fact that women are part of a historical process, that women suffer from the decisions of men in power, men in leadership. Just like we're talking about Ukraine right there, Stevie Wonder has laid it out. You know, in the reflection for the Jews today, it picks up in war. It literally picks up in war, that the Muslims have lost a war. The Battle of Uhud, we lost it. For the same reasons that Stevie Wonder is saying Ukraine is a problem. Because we lost a war whereby our leader was a spiritual leader. He had to be a military leader, but he was a spiritual leader. And he called on the people to be bound by faith going into war. That they were asked to hold a position. And holding that position was not just for them in that space of war. It was for the society that was not fighting. The ones that couldn't protect themselves. Those were the women and children. And what happens is the Muslim forces get decimated. They lose the war. But they lose more than just the war. They lose the esprit de corps that allowed them to think freely about the possibilities of this religion. We're going to be right back with the Jews for Religion, Jews for Reflection here on the Shout Out Show. I'm Preacher Mars. Stay tuned. Let's roll out commercial. I'll be right back.
Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear Don't Get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. science. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
Also, we're going to give a shout out in the queue. We got Sister Maxine B. Cade from BeFinancialIndependent.com dropping by to say hello. We want to throw her up if you get a chance at time. Okay. There you go. Well, Johnny L. Thomas is looking at Ramadan right now. He's telling me when sunset is. Pretty early there. And let's make sure we get Sister Cade up there. There you go. May Allah continue to bless all the Shout Out Show family during this Ramadan season. Thank you so much. So let me explain to you guys why I looked at Jews, this reflection. And let's talk about the reflection of Jews for. There is a war that takes place right at the beginning of the Jews. And the thing that's about this war is the war is lost because the troops refuse to follow directions. They refuse to hold their post. In war, you have posts. You have to hold your post or your station. You have things like your flanks and stuff like that. So let's say that the gentlemen who are fighting this war, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, somehow they lose their faith and they don't hold a position. And as a result of that, the Muslim army is decimated. They suffer severe casualties. But it's not just suffering severe casualties, brothers and sisters. It's the fact that the war is so penetrating, if you will, that it causes a social upheaval, that the loss of life is so profound, if you will, that it reframes social order. Because now you have an economy of men who are not coming back, and you have an economy of women and children who have to be cared for. And the Quran now prescribes how these women and children are supposed to be taken care of. So they move from being objectified to having specific objectives. And those objectives are important because this is the way that they build family, community, and of course, society. In this space, I would offer that the poor decisions of this war and the ramifications that come of it demonstrate a lack of faith in a plan. Now, I talk about faith all the time. You know, we say faith without action is empty. You've heard that before. I say faith without obedience is hypocritical. How are you going to have faith and not listen to the people who connect you to your faith? They said, I believe in God, but I'm not going to listen to God. But that's being hypocritical. You know, there's three types of people they talk about in Al-Baqarah: the believers, the disbelievers, and hypocrites. I think of the three, the hypocrites are the most dangerous. But in this Jews, there is a provocation to protect women from the disbelievers and definitely protect them from the hypocrites. And the scope is that the women speak is totally different. It's totally different. I would say that the emotional intelligence that's tied to this is at a totally different level because they are left, brothers and sisters, to frame family units. And in the family units, you have to provide instruction, guidance, but also you have to merit out what are going to be the options and opportunities for the children and the generation that come before. I just explained to you one war where people did not want to follow instructions. They did not want to hold their posts. And as a result, there was tremendous loss of life. And then it falls to who? It falls to the women to somehow produce, frame, and protect the rest of life that's there. What's two thoughts I had when I was reading Jews? Number one is there's a lack of empathy for some of our women in faith communities. Has been for a long time. And it's not being controversial. We've seen it. That I've seen grown men afraid of women expressing their religious ideology. That somehow, some way, if it's not time stamped by a man, somehow it's not valid. Thus, the role of faith in uplifting women is that we have to move our women to faith. In some regards, we have to put them in front of us because their faith is that much stronger. And literally, we are following them. We have generations upon generations upon generations of men who were drugged to church by their mothers. We were drugged to church by mothers. We were taken to the masjid by our mothers. Why? I'll give you an example of why. Because women, due to white supremacy and patriarchal society, have had to lean on their creator more than men have. Because I've seen men of faith, they're oppressed by society, and they, in turn, they oppress the women. They don't want to acknowledge that, but you do. We say things. We can be mean-spirited. We can be short. In essence, sometimes we cut these sisters off in terms of their potential. You can't uplift the women if you're not willing to float brothers and sisters, float our sisters out there, knowing that they have the intelligence, knowing that they have the initiative, and if it doesn't work out, they have the persistence to go back and do it again. And I would also offer that sisters, women need to uplift women too. A man can do it, but a woman can do it better. And providing, for lack of a better word, providing opportunities and options for sisters to explore their faith, to engage in a narrative that says, here, I believe you're most effective. Here, I believe that you can lead this situation. Here, I believe you can resolve this situation. And being able to step back and have trust. That, brothers and sisters, is faith. And going back to where we started, where I talked about faith without obedience is hypocritical. I meant that. Because if you have believers, I'm not talking about what level of belief, I'm just talking about core believers that somehow believe that obedience to the Quran, the Sunnah, obedience to the Bible or the Torah is a unifying factor. And we believe that we take the gender out of it for a moment. You take the gender out of it for a moment and talk about believing. But when you're talking about purposeful living and you look at women, then you have to say it deserves attention. It deserves support. And this is womanhood is about, I want to say meritocracy living, because we don't want to acknowledge that women have it rough. And when we get a group of women who get out here and they're very successful, we somehow dog them out and we find ways not to support them. This is not the way of the sun. Okay? So I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been great. I will see you tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you so much. Shout out again to Islamic Relief USA. Shout out to Sister Tana, everybody in the queue. Remember, let's uplift our sisters. This is Shout Out Show. I'm Preacher Moss. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, family, that's it for our show today. One of the reasons I felt compelled to make this video, because I noticed when an event is over, Muslims don't know when to leave. So if you're sitting there in front of your television going, that was fun, that was enjoyable, what do I do now? This is me telling you to leave. You know why? Because the show is over. I already left. I taped this before I made it. So you have permission to leave. And you also have permission to come back. To the Shout Out Show, we are Monday through Thursday. Again, that's 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central, and of course on the West Coast, 3 o'clock. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, my brothers and sisters. And guess what? This is yet another exercise for you to leave, because I'm out of here. Later.